And I agree with that last statement entirely. But why has Obama listened to these profoundly distorted views for 20 years without exhibiting the leadership to change those views? Truth is, I think Obama declared these views to be profoundly distorted only when he had no other choice. And I don't believe he thinks these views are distorted at all. Obama later stated that Jeremiah Wright was wrong in failing to recognize the progress in civil rights this country has made in the last 40 years.
I think a brilliant man who was still caught in a time warp back in the 60s or early 70s and the 50s where he grew up and had a sense of what America was and didn't have a good enough sense of how it had changed.
But the core doctrine of black liberation theology is this very rejection of the progress our country has made towards racial equality. This theology is a dominant factor in every aspect of life at the Trinity United Church of Christ. If this teaching is wrong, if Jeremiah Wright is wrong, why has Obama remained an active member of this church? Why has he not provided the leadership to direct his own church down a new path? He proclaims himself ready to lead our country down a new path, but he has not provided the leadership to direct his own church away from these profoundly distorted views. Obama could have told Wright that his view of America and our society was wrong, that his words were divisive. He could have told Wright that he should stop preaching black hostility and instead encourage black youth to take advantage of the opportunities the changes in our society have made available to them. But he has not done this. Instead, he turns to Jeremiah Wright for reassurance that he, Obama, is still on the right path. To me, this is clear evidence that Obama accepts the doctrines of black liberation theology, as taught by Jeremiah Wright. The Trinity Church website details a 10-point vision statement for the church and states that this vision is based upon the systematized liberation theology that started in 1969 with the publication of Dr. James Cone's book, Black Theology and Black Power. So I ordered a copy of this book and read it. This is what James Cone, the founder of Black Liberation Theology, has to say about its origins.
It was trying to bring together Martin Luther King Jr. and the Civil Rights Movement together with the Black Power movement, this symbol of being black in a white racist society.
This is what I learned from his book. Black liberation theology is a fusion of Christianity with the Black Power movement, as typified by the new Black Panther Party and the Nation of Islam. Black theology endeavors to reorder the Christian tradition in view of the black predicament and to destroy the influence of heretical white American Christianity. That's a quote. Black liberation theology teaches black pride, but it also teaches black anger, directed at what it views as the continued oppression of blacks by the white majority. It teaches the rejection of integration as the acceptance of the white man's style, his values, and his religion. Until white America is able to accept the beauty of blackness, there can be no peace, no integration in the higher sense. Black people must withdraw and form their own culture, their own way of life. Those are quotes. It teaches that reconciliation on white racist terms is impossible. Blacks must treasure their hostility, bringing it fully into consciousness as an irreducible quality of their identity. If white people insist on laying the ground rules for reconciliation, then black people must do everything within their power to destroy the white thing. Black people can only speak of reconciliation when the black community is permitted to do its own thing. Those are quotes. It teaches that to be Christian is to be one of those whom God has chosen. God has chosen black people. Being reconciled to God does not mean that one's skin is physically black. It essentially depends on the color of your heart, soul, and mind. There seems to be enough evidence that though one's skin is black, the heart can be lily white. The real questions are, where is your identity? Where is your being? Does it lie with the oppressed blacks or with the white oppressors? Those are quotes. My first thought was that maybe James Cone had changed his mind in light of the progress our country has made in the 40 years since his book was written, but he hasn't. I found this quote from a book he wrote in 1999. People often ask me whether I am still angry as when I wrote Black Theology and Black Power. When I hear that question, I smile to contain my rage. I remain just as angry because America, when viewed from the perspective of the black poor, is no closer to Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream of a just society than when he was killed. And I found this clip from an interview given in January of 2008.
White supremacy is white people making all the rules and regulations by which this country is defined. There is one black senator of the 50 who are there. There's only one. That's white supremacy. There is the, 9 Supreme Court justices. All of them white as far as I'm concerned. One may look black, but he's white.
James Cone ignores the 39 black U.S. representatives, the 2 black governors, the 461 black mayors who represent 40 million Americans, the hundreds of black police chiefs, and the 4 black CEOs of Fortune 500 corporations. In his view, none of this progress counts. Or maybe he just considers these influential blacks to be lily white on the inside, as he does Justice Thomas. It is clear that Jeremiah Wright, following the lead of James Cone, ignores the progress blacks have made in America. And I think Barack Obama, who views Jeremiah Wright as his sounding board, his moral compass, also ignores these changes in our society. These ideas of James Cone's are pervasive in the black liberation theology as practiced by the Trinity United Church of Christ. Of the 10 points in their vision statement, 6 are more black activist in nature than religious. In them, the church defines itself as a congregation with a non-negotiable commitment to Africa, a congregation committed to cultural education, a congregation committed to the historical education of African people in diaspora, a congregation committed to liberation, a congregation committed to restoration, a congregation working toward economic parity. The church also promotes a 12-point black value system with the emphasis on black values. Christian values or family values are not mentioned at all. This black value system does not sound all that racist at first reading, but that perception changes when you replace the word black with the word white. For example, these white ethics must be taught and exemplified in homes, churches, nurseries, and schools wherever whites are gathered. Commitment to the white community. Pledge allegiance to all white leadership who espouse and embrace the white value system. If a white presidential candidate had been a member for 20 years of a church with such a white value system, what would the media have to say about that? The Trinity Church Bulletins contain sections called the Pastor's Page and To Do Justice. These sections are used to express the political goals and beliefs of the church leadership and often have nothing whatsoever to do with religion. For example, I must tell you that Israel was the closest ally to the white supremacists of South Africa. In fact, South Africa allowed Israel to test its nuclear weapons in the ocean off South Africa. The Israelis were given a blank check. They could test whenever they desired and did not even have to ask permission. Both worked on an ethnic bomb that kills blacks and Arabs. With the torture of Abu Ghraib, the complete destruction of Fallujah, and over 600,000 deaths due to collateral damage, the President complained in his speech that there had been too many restrictions on the actions of the United States forces in the Iraq War. There are too many factual inaccuracies to refute them here individually, but these statements are pure demagoguery, clearly designed to slander America and her allies. Is this the sort of writing you find in your church bulletin? The Trinity United Church of Christ also publishes a monthly magazine called the Trinity Trumpet. In the May 2006 issue, Jeremiah Wright wrote,